So I'm Maddie Brachfeld, and my talk is going to be on cyberbullying. Kill yourself. You're ugly and you should have never been born because everybody hates you. You're the definition of stupidity. You're a piece of trash. You're disgusting. You're not smart enough. You're not pretty enough. You're not talented enough. You're not good enough. Who here has heard of the phrase, "Sticks and stones can break my bones, but words will never hurt me"? Almost everybody, right? In a way, this phrase was wiring our brains from the very beginning to get us to think that sensitivity is bad. That in life, we have to cover up our feelings and act as if no one can ever hurt us. But this statement is far from the truth. You're not too sensitive because if it hurts you, it hurts you. Bullying has been an issue from time after time, but in the past 20 years, it has taken a new dark turn because of the new digital age among us. Cyberbullying is a form of abuse that can cause symptoms similar to PTSD and is almost impossible to avoid in our modern connected world. The school gates used to be a way for kids to escape, so if you were being bullied, you could go through the gates and at the end of the day, you'd be safe, at least for a while. But now, in our modern world with constant connection, it means you could always be targeted. Messages can be misinterpreted, and jokes quickly turn into abuse. And when it comes to cyberbullying, safety at home becomes an illusion. There is no escape. At my previous school, I was a victim of cyberbullying. I had just started my freshman year of high school, a private prep school in New York City. It was a new school with new people and was what I thought would be the fresh start that I had always wanted. Little did I know, the fact that I came from New Jersey made me, quote unquote, different from the 75 New York natives in my grade, when in reality, the only difference from me and them was a river and the fact that I didn't have 5 houses and a private jet. For those of you who have watched Gossip Girl, picture me as Dan Humphrey, but without the shabby haircut and the "I'm a constant outsider and I'll never fit in, so I wrote a blog to trash all my peers and get a girl to fall in love with me" attitude. But putting that aside, it was the same situation. "Ew, she's from New Jersey," is a phrase I heard people whisper when I would walk by constantly the first 2 weeks of school, and it only got worse from there. Not only did I face the classic stereotypical bullying scenes you see in the movies, with guys pushing me around the halls and girls opening my backpack so all my books would fall out, as they would laugh at me as they watched me pick them up, but it only got 10 times worse when there simply became no escape from the school gates when I found out there was a group of girls who had been posting horrible things about me on their private Instagrams. "She is disgusting," they said. "I didn't think someone like Maddie would actually have friends," they said, with a screenshotted picture of me and my outside school friends. And when I finally thought that I made one friend, it turned out she had been one of the culprits. She seemed fascinated with my life and really wanted to get to know me, but it was only because she was posting everything that I would tell her. At one point, she flat out told me that a group of kids and her went to the Hamptons one weekend, sat in a circle on their phones, and bashed me for hours. They talked about everything they thought was wrong with me, and were trying to figure out how my life was so different, yet so similar to theirs. Traumatic. If I could describe that whole year of my life in one word, it would be traumatic. My freshman year of high school left a mark on me. It made me who I am today in so many ways, both negatively and positively. But most importantly, I learned from all the trauma I went through to look at these experiences and ask myself, what is this teaching me, instead of why is this happening to me? And because of that, I have grown tremendously since. One thing I have learned is that wherever you go, people are going to label you. The skinny one, the fat one, the dumb one, the smart nerdy one, the socially awkward one, the way too friendly one, the white one, the black one, the orange one. You could look like a pineapple, for God's sake, and people will still judge you. But it's how you overcome those labels that matter. Because at the end of the day, you're only as pretty as you treat people. For my mentor text for this TED Talk project, I read a novel called Cyberbullying Prevention and Response Expert Perspectives, which quoted that around 25% of the youth from over 80 schools from 2002 to 2010 have experienced some form of cyberbullying. This got me thinking, and if this was only from 2002 to 2010, imagine how much cyberbullying has increased in the last 10 years. I decided to do some research, and I found out that since then, about half of young people have experienced some form of cyberbullying, and 10 to 20% experience it regularly. It is crazy to think about how much cyberbullying is evolving, and because of the digital age that we live in, with this around-the-clock connection, there is really nothing we could do to stop it. If anything, instead of putting awareness out there of random statistics that teens won't even pay attention to anyways, we need to implement practicing how to be kind to one another in our day-to-day life, because with our constant source of technology, these are skills we often forget. The reason why cyberbullying is so much more dangerous than regular bullying is that teens feel comfortable saying whatever to whoever, all because it is a faceless interaction. What I mean by that is you're not talking to a person, you're talking to a screen. As another part of this project, I had the privilege of interviewing psychologist Alexandra Genova, who works with teens and studies cyberbullying. During this interview, she went in depth about the dangers of cyberbullying. The persistence and the speediness of it is extremely dangerous, she said. When you're constantly talking to a screen, you're not only having this faceless interaction, but you're not learning how to be empathetic, you're not learning how to be compassionate, and you're not learning how to interact with others with opposition. We're all different people, and we're all going to have different opinions. We're going to want to dress differently and have different hobbies, but the media doesn't allow our society to embrace and appreciate everybody's differences. I did some research after my interview, and I found that over half of adolescents and teens have been bullied online, and about the same number have engaged in cyberbullying. Let that sink in for a moment and think about this. Half of teens today have been cyberbullied, and about the same number of teens have engaged in cyberbullying. Now, with this in mind, let's take a second and be completely honest. Would you say half of the things you say online in person? If your answer is yes, you're lying. I know for a fact that every single one of you, including myself, has said something about someone else. Well, whether it's out of jealousy, annoyance, hate, or plain gossip, you can deny it all you want, but we are only human. So, if we're only human, isn't it okay for us to make these mistakes? I once read this quote that anonymously stated, "The most humbling lines to live by is that if someone tells you you hurt them, you don't get to go and decide that you didn't." It's not a difficult thing to take a few steps back and admit that your actions have caused harm to someone you care about. The thing is that there's a difference between talking about someone because they made you feel a certain way, rather than purely making fun of someone just because you feel like it. To be making fun of someone because of who they are, for example, the color of their skin, their gender, their sexuality, their religion, their body, or parts of their past is just flat out wrong. I don't care what kind of argument you make. To make fun of someone for who they are, the way they were born, or for things that they cannot change is simply unacceptable, and it makes you a part of the problem. It is not funny. It is not a joke. It's bullying. It's harassment. And like I said before, it doesn't matter if someone identifies themselves as a tomato. Just let them live their tomato lives in peace. So just be nice. You know how hard life is. You deal with the baggage of life just like everyone else. So just use kind words. Smile at the people who hate you. It doesn't cost a single thing. What matters is that you know who you really are and you know how you want the world to see you, so do something with that. Use that to your advantage. Shower people with kindness instead of hate. Because in life, I've only discovered that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did. But people will never forget how you made them feel. So at the end of the day, I think about our world, one that constantly craves connection. And somehow, in the midst of all of that, we still feel the need to force a fake smile every time we enter the public eye, or to time our text responses in order to protect ourselves from looking too eager or too interested, and to hold back our feelings because we don't want to appear too emotional or irrational. We constantly are afraid to say what we think. And at the end of the day, when we should feel good about ourselves, we feel isolated and misunderstood. Just remember, it's okay to be emotional, to share your opinion, to ask for help, and to confidently tell someone that you enjoy being around them and that you are infatuated with them. There is nothing wrong with vulnerability, with being human. For that is that what creates depth within our relationships and what ultimately defines us. Thank you.